The West's diplomatic, policy and economic behaviors based on the assumption that the world is still unipolar are bound to fail and are disastrous for the West itself, said a US-based scholar. John Pang, a senior fellow at New York-based Bard College, said that the US-led sanctions against Russia are an attempt to defend the unipolar world order established since the fall of the Soviet Union.
It's an attempt to defend the unipolar world order that has been in place since the fall of the Soviet Union. And this is unipolar behavior. It's an attempt to defend and extend the liberal hegemony that prevailed for several decades after the end of the Cold War. And its diplomatic and its policy behavior and now economic behavior, as if the world was unipolar. And it's failing and it will fail. It's disastrous as for the West, because the world is no longer unipolar, especially in the economy. Those sanctions are not going to be accepted throughout, and they won't work the way they're expected to work, because the global economy ceased to be unipolar quite a while ago. It's of course a Cold War mentality, but even the Cold Warriors were more realist than these guys. Right now, I think it's a kind of policy that's a combination of liberal interventionism and neoconservatism. This is the idea that for the world to be safe, everyone must adopt liberal democracy, and everyone must come under the single umbrella, right, of this sort of liberal democratic capitalist order. And the reality on the ground is just not that. The resemblance to the Cold War is in the attempt to impose a binary opposition, to divide the world into with us and against us countries, right? Because the sanctions were part of this attempt to globalize the war, to create a world, to polarize the world against Russia. And this has manifestly failed, despite the self-congratulation of the West. The West may be excited about how unified they are now, but it's a very interesting moment in world history, right, in which they have never been more separate from the rest of the world. They have never seemed so disconnected in their view from attitudes in other parts of the world, right? Common sense tells you, and common experience, right, in Southeast Asia, for example, particularly in the business community, is that we already live in a multipolar world. And the attempt to impose this unipolar thing with this idea of liberal hegemony is extraordinarily silly and bound to fail.